would you say the first few months were like? With Christopher specifically.
Hell.
That was the first, yeah.
Hell. I remember sitting up in front of his window at 2 o'clock in the morning, looking out the window with tears rolling down my cheeks, going, am I the only person up at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to comfort? I didn't know at the time he was lactose intolerant. So, oh my God, I would call him the devil's spawn, you know, because he was extremely uncomfortable. And I didn't know I was a new mom.
Sure.
And so him being uncomfortable made me uncomfortable. And it was very challenging.
My mom actually had the same thing. So you give him milk to keep him calm.
And it made him worse. You know, he was in constant agony, and therefore I was in constant agony because his lack of sleep was my lack of sleep. And, you know, he's my child. I want him to be comforted, but I didn't know how to comfort him. So thank God I suffered for close to 3 months with Chris until we found out that he's lactose intolerant, and, you know, then switched him over to goat's milk, and and you know, to lie and say it was blissful from there on after, no. My son was extremely spirited. I got books on spirited kids. I didn't know what to do with him, and that's why I bought more books, how to deal with spirited children. You know, he was so set in his ways, and he was so, I mean, if his sock was on the wrong way, he would flip out about it. I mean, things I'm not kidding you, things I didn't understand.
Wow.
And then when my daughter came into the picture, because he was the king of the house, the first child on both sides, you know, he had the first child syndrome, he would look at me and go, Mommy, can we put Michaela in the garbage can and let the garbage man take her away? I'm like, no, honey, we can't.
Wow.
She's her sister. You know, and I caught him trying to suffocate her with a pillow.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not kidding you. And I thought, you know.
Does Michaela know that?
Of course.
Okay.
He knows about it now. I have videos.
wait, you probably should have been the one grabbing the pillow.
No, but you know, I mean, I have videos of him.
Mother of the Year, we're turning this off.
No, I don't have videos of him suffocating.
I would hope
but I do,
not.
No. Yeah, let me just, no, I have
from memory. Hold your breath, sweetie. This is going to make great TV.
I have videos of her tormenting her. And his method of tormenting her was he had this thing with her ear. So, you know, I'd be like, okay, say cheese. You know, I try to videotape him. And I have videotapes of him.
Doing this thing.
You know, one ear was bigger than the other because he was...
Oh, jeez.
We laugh about it now because we look back at pictures of me, it's just like, Chris, you see how my right ear is a little bit bigger than the left ear? Is because he was constantly into her ear.
Oh, jeez.
She developed an ear infection because of his obsession with her ear. It's
weird.
Crazy.
Oh,
I did take them both to a therapist, by the way. I took them both to psychologists. And, you know, I want moms out there to know that there is help. And you're not alone. We think we're alone, but you're not.
That's actually one of my questions is, when have you delegated, like used a support line or like a
every chance I had. I talked to other moms. I talked, you know, and I'll be honest, I didn't talk to my own mother because I love my mom, but I'm not very, and she's been a great mom for the most part, but she doesn't have a lot of knowledge when it comes to parenting above and beyond the materialistic aspects of parenting. What I mean by that is a lot of times parents compensate their lack of, you know, emotional commitment, physical commitment, whatever commitment they feel that is wanted of them at that particular moment by overcompensating, by giving gifts, buying things. That doesn't make you a good parent.
No, it helps. Like when you can do both.
You know, in my opinion, it doesn't really. Deal with the problem first, and then reward.
No, I just mean, having money.
You know,
because it gives you more opportunities, right?
It does, but you know, I mean, I raised my kids at the time when we were extremely well off. You know, I would minimize the Christmas presents, and the ex would overcompensate by, you know, no child on this planet needs 15 massive gifts.
I agree.
No child.
I totally agree.
You know, so when I would put my foot down and say, this Christmas we're only buying one thing and one thing only, guess what that did to me as a parent? It made me the bad guy. And I was okay with that. Because I knew it was going to pay off in the long run. I didn't want my children growing up thinking the only way that they can validate themselves and have any kind of value, and the only way they can deal with problems is if they were given things.
Now, where did you get the strength to do that? Because that's a really big thing, to knowingly become the bad guy for their growth. Where
I
do you get the
watched
strength?
my own parents. I was repelled, and I can say this with no, I hope there's no negative intent behind what's coming.
I don't feel that.
I was repelled by what I witnessed in my life growing up. I was repelled by their marriage, and I was repelled by their parenting skills. And you know, when you, it's the same thing applies to positive affirmations. I would tell myself every single time, not every single day because I'd be lying, Every time I was beaten to a pulp, every time I was abused physically and sexually, I will tell myself that I'm not going to raise my children. It was like an affirmation that I wouldn't just say, I would verbalize. I would verbalize it.
Wow.
And I would tell myself I wasn't going to do that. So I really truly believe that having experienced that gave me the strength to stand up to a guy that was all about demeaning and control. But I was ready for that fight because of what I prepared for.
Interesting.
You know, so you know, no one and nothing, despite of how many times it caused havoc in my marriage, was going to take me away from my responsibility of doing the exact opposite.
Good for you.
Because I knew the effects that it can have on you, psychologically, emotionally. It wasn't all peachy keens for me. At the age of 18, I went down, you know, roads I shouldn't have, but because I believed that that's all that was my value. That's the value that was instilled in me. But you know, it was when I turned 21. It took me that many years to realize that I am a great person, that I have a lot to contribute to my life and to the life of others around me, and that I wasn't going to let anyone take that power away from me. And I stuck to my, you know, I stuck to my gun. And so when I had to actually, you know, execute what I had prepared myself for ever since I was 12, it wasn't as difficult as it could have been.
I see. Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense.
So it wasn't what I read in books, it was what I experienced. I didn't want my children to be raised in the same manner that I was because of the pain that it has caused me. I've only since healed, you know, and been able to move past all the damage that, you know, I've had to grow up with, to deal with, and I didn't want that to transform to my children. So I put a stop to it. And I'm so glad that I did, because I look at the end result and think, yes!
Sounds like it's working out.
It is, you know. I mean, again, you know, today. I don't know about tomorrow, but I'll deal with it when the time comes.
For sure.
So, you know, I'm not in denial either, going, yeah, you know, job well done, and, you know,
That's it.
moving forward, I'm closing the parent shop, and
That's right.
no, it's not like that, you know.
I think it's just like fitness, you know. I mean, you don't lift a dumbbell once and go, well, that should stay.
No, some of us have. Some of us have, you know, thought that to be true, but it isn't.
No.
So yeah, that's, to answer your question, that's where it came from. I didn't want to meet my parents. I love them dearly, but I didn't like the way they raised me and my brothers.
Were you ever scared in a sense that you didn't feel you could do it? Like, not that you were going to give up, but that you felt like, I can't do this. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
What were some situations like that?
You know, when I saw my son, my 2-year-old son, you know, responding to my daughter in an abusive manner, that really set me back, because I was all about instilling love and, you know, a positive atmosphere, and when he would react to her that way, I took that, it reflected on me as a mother. I thought, oh my God, I'm not doing my job. For him to have this animosity towards her, you know, I felt responsible for that, not realizing. So when I did take him to a therapist, the therapist in turn said, yes, he's very spirited, but he's an extremely bright child, and I hope there's another parent, because he needs 2 parents to guide him. And I thought, so it wasn't because he was an evil child per se, it wasn't because of my parenting skills, it's because he himself as an individual was born as a spirited being, and it was my job to learn how to deal with that spirit and how to nourish it. You know, I mean, when he would cry out for attention, regardless of how ridiculous I thought as an adult, you know, his outbursts would be, I had to find out why, instead of, you don't behave that way. Why are you behaving this way, honey? Why are you freaking out? Instead of, you know, my sock is on the wrong foot. Okay. We'll deal with that. I understand that. We'll deal with that. How does that make you feel? I hate it. Okay. You don't need to freak out about it. All you have to do is come to mom, and we'll deal with it. So, yeah, you know, there've been a lot of scary situations, and, you know, right down to when I found out that, you know, I mean, it's life. My son developed a tic, I guess you would say, and I thought that he was developing MS. It was a very trying time in my life, and, you know, again, I as a parent thought it's because of me. It's because of some of the things I said, some of the things I didn't say. You always, as a parent, the second you find out you've conceived, you get used to that feeling of guilt. And it stays with you for the rest of your life. You know, mother guilt, father guilt. You know, I mean, that's what we become.